Om Maganati Maranda Sangana Gana Saraka Chaksurun Meditam Yana Tajmai Swigavedama Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yara Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Swiguru Seta Parakamaram Shigurun Vaishnavam Sya Sirupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakhan Vitam Syam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sanyavadi Praskata Desarhari Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Jeva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jehudya Nishta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagata Seva Bhagati Anamashoki Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki Nigamaka Purugaritam Param Shukamakaram Itadravisam Tam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamara Mahora Horasika Bhivi Bhagam Krishna Swadam Upagate Gana Gana Karona Stadu Shamasho Parana Kodinoja Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadigo Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, welcome to Motivational Monday. Govinda Dev, Jimmy and Taruni, Jean, Sundari Priya, Thomas from Idaho, Anjali. Saw something on the internet about how you're a great singer. It's amazing to discover the talents and abilities of those people with whom we've been sharing these Monday mornings. Yes, it is MM Anjali, a Motivational Monday, coming to you from bustling metropolitan Spanish Fork, Utah. The days are still quite warm in the 80s. Nights are chilly. What we've done since last Wednesday when we were with you is skip through a number of verses that had to do with listing the various incarnations all the way down to the 28th verse, 3rd chapter, 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you happen to have that before you, turn there, 28, 3rd chapter, 1st canto. And you'll recognize this verse, I'm sure. It's a classic. Ete chamsha karo pam sham Krishna stu bhagavan swayam indriyari vyakalam lokam mridayanti yuge yuge. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either portions or plenary portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there's a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. Parijanaya sadanam vinasya chadushkitam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are a number of verses to the purport, but I'm just going to start with the first paragraph here. In this particular stanza, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is distinguished from the other incarnations. He is counted amongst the avatars because, out of his causeless mercy, the Lord descends from his transcendental abode. Avatar means one who descends. All the incarnations of the Lord, including the Lord himself, descend on the different planets of the material world, as also in different species of life to fulfill particular missions. Sometimes he comes himself, and sometimes his plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions or his differentiated portions, directly or indirectly empowered by him, descend on this material world to execute certain specific functions. So what we've learned over the last couple of weeks is that there are a lot of categories and subcategories. There are a lot of different types of incarnations and avatars. However, Krishna is not to be lumped amongst all the portions and plenary portions and differentiated portions and parts of portions, because he is in fact the fountainhead. Everything emanates from him. Ahamadiri devanam marishanam chasarvashaham, because he preceded the rishis and the demigods and the great gods like Brahma, Shiva. They don't even know him. So if the gods, the creator of this universe, and the annihilator of this universe, Brahma and Lord Shiva, do not know Krishna, then it's not given to me to perceive him, at least not with my limited senses or my material facilities. One should not make the mistake of confusing or putting on the same level as Lord Shiva and Brahma, Lord Vishnu. If you took a college religion course on world religions, you probably got the information, the misleading information, that there are 10 avatars, and they're avatars of Vishnu, and that Krishna is included as an avatar of Vishnu. That is not the correct information. The authoritative list of the Das avatars, the 10 avatars, comes from a great devotee named Jayadeva Goswami, who wrote his Gita Govinda in the 12th century. And he does not include Krishna in the list of the 10 avatars or incarnations, because he specifically says that Krishna is not an emanation from Vishnu, but rather all the millions and millions of Vishnus, Brahmas, and Shivas are emanations from Krishna. Therefore, he does not. He gives 10. I believe he puts Balaram instead of Krishna in there. As Vaishnavas, we do not accept that Krishna is one of the 10 incarnations of Vishnu. There are 10 incarnations of Vishnu, but their source is Krishna. However, even if you want to say, for argument's sake, that Krishna comes as an avatar of Vishnu, still, here's how we would understand it. Take the example, Utah's a Republican state, we have a Republican governor, and we have a Republican president. If the president, who's a Republican, wants to visit the state under which Gary Herbert is the governor, a Republican governor, the president will not insult or cause Gary Herbert to lose face by coming independent of the governor. He will actually just the opposite, make a big show of telling people, I'm here because of the governor. Your Republican governor has so much power that if he invites me, if he snaps his finger, I come. And what that does is, it supports the local Republican governor, and it also generally gives strength to the Republican Party. So even though he's far superior to the governor of Utah, the president will make a big show of coming through the invitation or using the channel that's built up here on a state level, and that will support the Republican Party. Similarly, even if you say, for argument's sake, that Krishna comes through Vishnu, it is the protocol, it is the etiquette that even though Krishna is much greater than Vishnu, even though Krishna is the source of Vishnu, he wants to support the role of Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma in this material world. They are, after all, his representatives. And so he supports them. He enhances their prestige and their power and their respect, without which they couldn't rule. And without ruling, things wouldn't be as well coordinated, as peaceful as they are in the universe. And he comes, as it were, through Vishnu, even though he's the source of millions and millions of Vishnu. We should always think of Krishna not as an avatar of Vishnu, however, but we should always think of him as separate and distinct. This is one of many scriptural injunctions to that effect. Yashtu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudati Vishvataham Samat Vinaiva Bhiksheta Sapasandi Bhavaduram. One, Brahma Rudrati Devata. Brahma, Rudra, Shiva, Devata are all the demigods. Samat Vinaiva Bhiksheta. Samat means equal. If you in your thinking make Brahma, Shiva, or any or all of the demigods Samat Vinaiva Bhiksheta equal to Narayan, then Sa Pashandi Bhaveduram. You are considered to be a Pashandi, which means a faithless unbeliever. Of the three prominent deities in this material world, Brahma the creator, Shiva the destroyer, and Vishnu the maintainer, two of them have material bodies and one does not. Brahma has a material body. In fact, Brahma is a jiva, a particle of the Lord, just like we are. He's empowered to create this universe, but he's not the only Brahma. There are millions and millions of universes with millions and millions of Brahmas. Those who say God is the universe or God created the universe are, I think, offensive, because God created millions of Brahmas and millions of universes. So if you say God created the universe, you're making Krishna Brahma, right? If you think that God only created one universe, if you think he only created this universe, then basically you're dragging Krishna down to the level of Brahma. And so according to this verse, you are an offender. Even though you worship God, even though you go to church, but if you think that God only created this universe And if you think that in this universe, Earth is the only planet with life, you're really skating on thin ice there, my friend. Every planet in the universe has life. There's spirit everywhere. And spirit cannot be suffocated by the wind or drowned by water, burned by fire. So first thing you need to know, if you're supposedly a God-centered person, is that the Earth is not the only planet in this universe with life. The other planets in the sky and the Milky Way and the galaxy are not just a backdrop for what we're doing here on Earth, but they're teeming with life. And most of them have a higher civilization. Most of them are diffused with more piety than what the Earth planet is. And then most of them also are inhabited by demigods and higher beings. Then you also need to know that this is not the only universe, but there are millions and millions of uncountable universes, millions of Brahmas. So please don't say that God created the universe or God is the universe. Don't minimize God in that way. So Brahma and Shiva, Brahma is the creator and Shiva is the destroyer. They have material bodies. But Vishnu, his body is known as Vishuddha Sattva, entirely spirit. There's no difference between his inside and his outside. Therefore, he's sometimes referred to as Advaita, non-dual. The inside and the outside are the same. And in the Bhagavad Gita, he declares, 7th chapter, 7th verse, Mata parataram nanyat kinchid asti jananjaya maya sarovinyam pruktam sutra mana gana iva. To his friend and associate Arjuna, Krishna declares, O Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So if you give me some emojis there, thank you, I will launch into our Bhagavad Gita rap song. It's a summarization of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the absolute. There we go. And it's based on this verse. Everything rests on me as pearls are strung on a thread. No truth exists besides myself. Do not be misled. Everything rests upon me as pearls on a thread. I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. I am the syllable Om, the strength of the strong. I'm the fragrance of the earth. I'm the forest fire, bright red. I'm the blazing sunset. I'm the alphabet from A to Z. I am the seed of everything. From me all things arise. I am the faith of great men. I am the wisdom of the wise. I am the vigor of the strong, not triggered by greed or lust. That sex life comes from me, which is righteous, pure, and just. I am the Paramatma dwelling in everyone's heart. I am the life of all that lived. I am the ending, middle, and start. I am the sacred Vishnu of all sorts of light. I am the sun, stars, and moon at night. The Himalayan mountains, unshakable, unbreakable, indicate me. I am the unlimited, eternal ocean of vegetation. I am the banyan tree. Oh, I love you guys. I am Kandarpa, the god of love, like Cupid with his bow. I am of cows, I am Sarabi, who gives milk and unlimited flow. It's hard for me to continue because I'm laughing so hard at all the emojis that are going up here. Of mantras, I am Gayatri. Of seasons, I am the spring. Of months, I am November, the times of peace and harvesting. I am the wind that purifies the spirit apart from the flesh. I am logic, pure, concise. I am all-devouring death. Of beasts, I am the lion. Of men, I am the king. I am Yama, Lord of death, who judges everything. I am of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Of conquerors, I am time. Of rivers, I am the Ganges, flowing liquid and sublime. Since I create the dual worlds of spirit and flesh, the wise prioritize my service, keeping their hearts forever fresh. My pure devotees think of me and follow me all the time, discussing me incessantly. I am theirs and they are mine, because they serve with love and never swerve aside. From within their hearts I cause ignorance to subside. The wattage of knowledge I shine from within so bright, and in deep parental affection guide them to the light. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You guys make it hard not to just crack up in mirth while I'm trying to remember these verses with all of your wonderful encouragement. We do have a good time when we get together on these early morning Bhagavatam class sessions. Prabhupada says here, To misconceive Lord Vishnu to have a material body or to equate him with the demigods is the most offensive blasphemy against Lord Vishnu. I'll just repeat that once more. Prabhupada says to misconceive Lord Vishnu to have a material body or to equate him with the demigods is the most offensive blasphemy against Lord Vishnu. And offenders against the lotus feet of Vishnu cannot advance in spiritual knowledge. They are called Mayaparita Jnanam, or those whose knowledge has been stolen by the influence of illusion. As I said before, Name vidu shadagana prabhavam maharishana. Aham adiri devanam maharishanam jasarvasha. Neither the demigods nor the great sages know the origin, nor do they know the limits of Krishna's opulences. Why? Because he says, in every respect, I am the origin of the demigods and the sages. No one should take shelter of any other living being, save and except for Lord Krishna. Mostly people take shelter of the demigods for material temporary benefits. Antavanti me phalam tadbhavati deva deva yanti madhikano. Krishna says, those quickly get results by worshiping the demigods, but the results are only temporary. Better take that same time, that same energy, worship Krishna, then you'll not only get temporary results, but over and above all of that, you'll get ultimate liberation. It is said that all the purposes that are served by the small reservoir of water are also served by the big lake. All, you might say in modern terms, something you can relate to more often, because that's a reference to village India. You know, they have one well for washing clothes, another well for washing dishes, another well for bathing, because the small reservoirs of water are subject to cross-contamination. But if you have a big lake near your village, you can wash your clothes, you can wash your dishes, you can take a bath and not worry about cross-contamination. But those are references that may not resonate with a modern urban audience. So how about if I put it this way? All the purposes that are served by the small shops and the delicatessen and the curiosity are served by Walmart. You understand what I'm saying now? Okay, so why worship the demigods for temporary benefits when by worshiping Krishna, Krishna will take care of you. Don't worry about that. But he'll also take you back to home, back to Godhead. Yanti deva bhatave dan, pitu yanti pita, bhutani yanta pitaja, yanti madhigino primam. Those who worship the demigods after death go to the planet of the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to live with the ancestors. Those who worship the ghosts and spirits go to live with the ghosts and spirits. Yanti madhigino. But those who worship me, they come to live with me. And Krishna's abode is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. Taking shelter of the demigods when you have the option of taking shelter of Vishnu is like jumping from a cliff. We've all seen these videos on the internet, on Facebook, of people diving down from cliffs into water below. Well, taking shelter of the demigods when you could have taken shelter of Vishnu is like diving from a height into shallow water. You'll break your legs, you'll break your head, you won't achieve anything deep and penetrating. But taking shelter of Vishnu is like diving into deep water. Only Vishnu can give you liberation, because only Vishnu has an entirely spiritual body. Only Vishnu is separate and apart from and independent of this material creation. Matat parataram nanyat. Krishna says, there is no truth superior to me. Sutre managana yava. Everything rests upon me as pearls on a thread. But Krishna doesn't rest upon, Krishna is not contingent or dependent upon this phenomenal world. He is the source of it. At the same time, he has nothing to do with it. There are various colors allotted to Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is a creator, and whenever you create anything, any of you know who have started a business, you know that, or maybe you've campaigned for a political post, to bring something from a state of rest, to build up a political machine, or to mount a social media campaign, to organize an event, or to start a business requires a lot of initial energy. And that energy is in the mode of passion, called rajas. So Lord Brahma, who's tasked with jump-starting this material creation, who is the engineer for this material universe, the color assigned to Brahma is the color of passion, which is red. And then the color of Lord Shiva is darkness, because Lord Shiva destroys. And those people in the mode of tamagun, darkness, their only expertise is in insulting and tearing down and destroying. People in the mode of darkness are subject to sleep, laziness, madness, illusion, intoxication, hallucination. They cannot create anything because they don't have the consistency of purpose in order to be able to carry something through from beginning, maintenance, creation, and to bring it into manifestation. So because Lord Shiva is and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Krishna, but he's Krishna in touch with this material world. And therefore, he has a material body. He's in touch with the mode of ignorance. So the dark color is allotted to Lord Shiva because he annihilates the universe. And Shuklam Bharadam Vishnum Shashivanam Chadovisham Prashanapadiram Sarvavigno Prashantiyam. Sukna, or whiteness, is the symbolic representation of Vishnu, the absolute truth, because he is not touched by either passion, which is red, or by ignorance, which is dark. Now, Prabhupada says that these three allocations of colors, red to Brahma, white to Vishnu, and dark to Shiva, should not be taken literally, not in terms of what we experience with our senses, but rather as symbolic or representative of the various modes of material nature with whom those three deities are associated. And Prabhupada gives example that a duck, for instance, is white. That does not, however, mean that the duck is in the mode of goodness. Although the duck's color is white, it is actually in the mode of ignorance. It is explained in the Vedic scriptures that the duck is so foolish that it runs after the testicles of a bull, thinking them to be a hanging fish that can be caught when it drops. Thus, the duck is always in darkness. Now, another example is Vyasadeva, Mahamuni Kimbapari Ishvaraham, who compiled all the Vedic literatures, and then Nigama Kalpatarutaram, after having completed all the 4 Vedic literatures and the Mahabharata, then he compiled the Summum Bonum, the spotless Puranam, the 20,000 verse Srimad Bhagavatam. Now he himself had a darkish color. That is not to say that Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, is in tamagun, in the mode of ignorance. Not at all. Krishna himself, or Vishnu himself, possesses a blackish color. Yam Shayamashindar Machuta Gunu Sharupam. That does not obviously mean that Vishnu is in the mode of darkness. He is the symbolic, the epitome of the mode of goodness. Lord Shiva has a whitish color, and yet he presides over the mode of darkness. Aishwarya Shamagasha Virya Shayasha Gyanam Vyagasha Sanambhagamitingana. Once Prabhupada asked his fledgling disciples back in the 60s, in the early days, when they had just barely sort of rolled in off the street, define God for me. He'd been speaking about God and referring to God and encouraged his newborn disciples to chant the names of God and give up activities which are antithetical and anathema to the God realization. And he asked them to find God. Some people said he's a creator, he's a maintainer, he's a destroyer, he knows everything, he does everything, he's all powerful. Prabhupada said, no, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. None of those things were untrue. But the complete definition of God, which we get from Parasara Muni, Aishwarya Samagrasha Viryasya Yasasasya Gyanam Varaga Shapi Sanambhagam Itingara. You ever wanted to know what the complete definition of God is? It is he who is full in 6 opulences: wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and humility. Who is full of each one of these 6 opulences to an unlimited degree. Now, beginning from the fountainhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are many, many incarnations, portions, plenary portions, portions of plenary portions, integrated emanations, separated integrations, differentiated integrations, and all those different expansions from Krishna contain, to a greater or lesser degree, and according to the particular mission which is assigned for them, different quantities of those 6 qualities of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. The example is given that in the room, is in my room here, there's a small electric bulb which is displaying. Now that does not mean that the powerhouse is limited to the power that comes from one small bulb. Just the opposite. The powerhouse can supply large-scale industrial dynamos with huge voltage. And just part of that, just a small AMSA fraction of its power, is displayed in this bulb. It is not in any way, shape, or form limited by the power that comes to this bulb. It illuminates millions of bulbs in different wattage, 20 watts, 30 watts, 100 watt. It powers dynamos that require hundreds of thousands of watts. It's all coming from the same source. So the power is allocated according to the need. I don't need more than 50 watts in this room so you guys can see me. Well, why should the bulb be charged with 10,000 watts? It's an overkill. It's a waste like that. So similarly, all the various incarnations and sub-incarnations and portions and plenary portions, which we've been talking about for the last week or two, they are empowered exactly according to the demands of the mission for which they descend. But the source, compared to the powerhouse, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, he is filled with what is called Ananda Maya Vyasa. When he appeared in his original form, there are many appearances, there are many avatars, and Krishna's in that sense one of them. But we have to understand, Ajo Bishana Avyayatma, that the Krishna avatar is not just another portion or portion of a portion. He is the original coming down 5,000 years ago into the rural area of Vrindavan, which even today you can visit. It's just 90 kilometers south of Delhi, about a 3-hour drive. Even though he appeared within this material creation, in a remote outpost, far removed from his Goloka Vrindavan planet at the top of the spiritual world, he retained his transcendental bliss, his transcendental knowledge, and his eternal knowledge. And it said that when he came, he comes always in a blissful form. No one has ever read a story about Krishna's Leelas or seen a painting of Krishna where Krishna is frowning. Always smiling, always radiating munificence and happiness. And even when Krishna was challenged in his childhood, Kamsa sent so many enemies, protein demons, in an attempt to kill Krishna. He sent Agasura, Bakasura, Putana, Pralambana. And when Krishna killed them, it was all blissful. It was all Leela. It was all pastimes. It's like when you were kids and you had a band of friends. Sometimes you'd divide up into cops and robbers, Indians and cowboys. You're all friends, but you made those divisions just to increase the fun, the drama, and the expense of it. That you were enjoying killing and being killed. I come from a small town in Pennsylvania. It's called Stallstown. It's probably, I don't even know if there are 200 people who live in Stallstown. And I don't know if it's still going on, but for many years, since World War II, and throughout my childhood, and whenever I go back to visit during the summer and the fall from high school and college, there would be what they called the flax scutching. And there's a park just south of town where there's a baseball field. We used to play Little League and Pony League. And then there's a grove. The grove is called Montague's Grove. If anybody from Stallstown happens to come across me this morning, they're going to be grinning from ear to ear. So this grove is beautiful trees, And there are permanent exhibits, permanent structures there. And every year in September, there would be exhibits of how to take the flax, which the original pioneers grew, and all the various stages, the looms and the shuttles, where they would turn the flax into cloth, which they would make their clothes. They would comb it and thresh it. And all the pioneer arts, blacksmithing, were displayed there for the flax scutching. This little town of 200 people, every Saturday in September, thousands and thousands of people would come to the flax scutching. And there would be all kinds of foods and vendors and games for people to play. I still think of that with great fondness. In fact, if I'm ever in like New Vrindavan or anywhere in the area during September, I'll try to coordinate my visit with the flax scutching. All my parents and everyone has died and the ancestral home is sold, so I don't have any personal physical ties to the area. But New Vrindavan is about an hour away. And in any case, the denouement, the climax of the annual flax scutching in Stallstown, Pennsylvania, was the Indian raid. So just to the south again of Montague's Grove, there was a big sloping hill, big grassy hill, just similar to the hill we have here in Spanish Fort. And then there would be a flat area surrounded by woods and maybe 150 or 200 feet of open area. And they would construct this tar paper shack every year. So the pioneer and his wife and kid lived in the shack, okay? Thousands of people would sit on the hill to see the annual enactment of the Indian raid. And I don't know if this is politically correct or not, but I just know that as a kid, we had a heck of a lot of fun. My brother and I, sometimes we'd be the Indians and sometimes we'd be the cowboys. It was random how you're divided up and it didn't really matter. Needless to say, all the Indians got killed and the cowboys were the saviors, come to save the day. And we were each of us given a box full, about 20 shotgun shells, full of blanks. And very carefully advised, don't shoot this at anybody's body because even though it's a wad, it could cause serious damage. So all the shells would have to be shot into the ground. So anyway, to make a long story short, we're all sitting, everybody's sitting, and the pioneer, the father, comes out, and he's a little suspicious. He thinks he smells some Indians, and looks around, but he doesn't see anything. And you can kind of see some of the Indians peeking from behind trees in the woods. You know they're there, but the pioneer apparently doesn't see them. And his wife comes out and says, "Come on back into the hut, honey," and the little kid comes. And so they all go back, and then as soon as they go back in the hut, the Indians start coming out of the woods, creeping up with their shotguns and their hatchets and their tomahawks, and one or two of them on horses. And the Indians go into the shed, come out with some scalps. Of course, if you were just a little kid, it was like, later on, we'd know how it was done, that they would change clothes inside and they would become Indians, come out. It wasn't like their dead bodies were inside. And then the Indians would put the torch to this tar paper shack, and it was just a little shack, but tar paper makes a lot of smoke. So just like a huge smoke cloud, the Indians are going around, woo, 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 woo. And then finally, coming from another part of the woods, the cowboys, the pioneers, the settlers come to the rescue. And they come, and more of them are on horses, and they're better armed. So there's this huge gun battle, right? And then gradually the Indians are dropped back, and when an Indian gets killed, two other Indians drag him into the woods. He comes back to life until such time as his shotgun shells are exhausted, and then he really has to die. And so gradually the cowboys or the settlers drive the Indians back. So anyway, it's all a sham, but it is so much fun. I remember as a kid, we couldn't wait for the flax scutching day, the festival, the fair, the games, the foods, the exhibits of the pioneer crafts, and most especially the Indian raid at the end of the day. So why we enjoy that amongst our friends, dividing up and playing in that way? Because that tendency, Jan Marias Yaha Taham, is there in the origin, is there in the absolute truth. And as his parts and parcels, we also have the desire to divide up and to role play in Vrindavan, the Supreme Lord, in the interest of relishable pastimes, he enjoyed himself with a smile on his face, killing the demons that were sent to him by Kamsa, playing with his mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, his brother Balaram, his friends like Madhumangala, playing the role of a naughty butter thief. All those with whom Krishna associated, even the demons themselves who got killed, they enjoyed celestial bliss through his stealing and his playing and his wrestling. Even when Lord steals, he becomes worshipable by the devotees. When Krishna would go to the neighboring houses of the cowherd ladies, steal their butter, they would present themselves before Mother Yashoda to complain that, doesn't your son have enough butter and yogurt in your house? Does he have to come to our house to steal it? And then Mother Yashoda said, I will discipline Krishna. I will talk very sternly to him. And then all the complainants, when they thought about Krishna being disciplined or spoken sternly to, they said, no, never mind. We're just complaining because it's a role that we've been assigned, but we really don't mind Krishna stealing butter, because there's a sense within us that Krishna owns everything, and therefore he cannot in any normal, mundane sense of the word be accused of stealing. He's worshipped as Mukunchur, the butter thief. I remember reading this example. A man has a mango orchard. He's sleeping in his house. And one day he hears a disturbance, a rustling in the mango orchard. Or no, I'm sorry. A neighbor, not the owner, but a neighbor whose house is adjacent to a mango orchard, hears a disturbance in the orchard one day. He calls the police. Police cars come rolling in, their lights shine, and sure enough, there is a man up on top of the ladder. And sure enough, as the neighbor said, he's picking mangoes and putting them into a bag. So normally, that would be criminal activity. What's the difference in this story, in this example? Can you guess what I'm going to say? How I'm going to make it all non-criminal? Yes, you guessed it. The owner, the guy on the top of the ladder is the owner of the mango trees. And he just got up at 2 in the morning with a craving for mangoes. He dragged the ladder out and he's picking mangoes. And as soon as the neighbor, as soon as the police constables identify the so-called thief as the owner of the mangoes, then what would have been a tense, suspenseful situation, immediately everybody just starts to laugh and slap each other in the back and have the greatest time. What a spoof it was. So even Krishna's stealing gave unlimited pleasure to the gopis and the inhabitants of Vrindavan. And Krishna created these pastimes. He orchestrated this role playing, you see, in order to attract us. He performed those activities, not just in the spiritual world, millions and millions of light years away, to which we would not, in these material bodies and with these material senses, have any access, but out of his unlimited causeless mercy and his wish to reclaim us back to home, back to Godhead, he descended in his original form. He exhibited those wonderful leelas and pastimes right here on earth in the area that we now call India. Why? In order to attract the dry speculators and the acrobats, Prabhupada says, of the Hatha Yoga system, who pose themselves as searchers of the absolute truth, to give a real taste and a real glimpse of what is the spiritual world. I'll give you a quote from a famous yogi. In fact, he's called MC Yogi. Sri Krishna, your pure charisma, your flute playing is so intoxicating. I want some emojis now, you guys. I know you can do it. Yes. Just don't do it too much so they start laughing too much. Sri Krishna, your pure charisma, your flute playing is so intoxicating, singing your song down in Vrindavan, pleasing the gopis and all the devotees, and chanting the bhakti yogis. In a trance you dance the divine romance of Rasa Leela with Radharani. In the Bhagavad Gita you teach us bhakti. Your pastimes are so sublime, they refresh the heart and fill the mind. They give relief like the monsoon in the lingering heat. You lifted a mountain with your little finger. You're the sweet butter thief known as Baby Gopal, the killer of Kamsa, the lover of Radha. Your complexion's dark blue like the ocean. I offer all of my devotion. I offer all of my devotion with all of my emotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I think we can end there. What do you think? End with literally a bang. Thank you so much. Pop, 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 pop. Little transcendental explosions, puffs of ecstasy. Thank you so much, Anjali. And tell me more about your beautiful singing. I heard an excerpt of your song. I thought your voice was, I mean, there might be two Anjalis, but I doubt it. So your voice was sublime. I thought the rest of the track was a little kind of rough, but your voice was definitely the high point of that track. So tell us a little bit more about that in the comments so that all of those who gather Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, we're becoming more and more of a close-knit group. And we'd like to know more about that talent of singing which Krishna has embedded within you. Thomas, talk about talents. Thomas is here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And he is the best greeter in the three worlds. He makes everybody who comes here, who visits here, feel welcome, feel at home. He makes them feel like the valuable jewels, the parts and parcels that Krishna created them to be. Honestly, Thomas is our crest jewel here, and I know he's probably crimson red with embarrassment, but this is my chance to thank you, Thomas, and to make all of the other members of our little enclave aware here of his unique gifts and talents. There is no better person to offer Krishna conscious hospitality than Thomas. I think the GBC should make him the minister of reception, the minister of hospitality. So enough of that. And also a comrade in arms. What Thomas does in Spanish Fort, Sundari Priya does in Salt Lake City. She also welcomes people with a big smile and makes them well. Taruni and Jimmy, gosh, you guys are so great. Gene, Govinda Dave, Prashant, I don't know, maybe if you've got any quotes, giving us any references, that's a great service that you do. Malini Preeti from Malaysia, book distributor, Prashadam, distributor, and distributor of Moonlight Smiles. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for enthusiasm. Rama Morrison, Joe, Rakesh, Jai Rakesh Ji, Rupa Manjari, Mahatma, thank you, Yudha, Mary and Patrick from Reno, Haribo, James, I think that's Kavi Chandra Swami, if I'm not mistaken. Daniel, nice to see you. Hope you're keeping well during the pandemic. Yes, Prashant has the quotes. So check those quotes out. Madhava Das. Kurt. Yay, Kurt. We just had, this past weekend was the weekend that we had postponed the Festival of Colors to. Originally it's in March, but when we couldn't have it in March, then we put it the 19th and 20th of September. Of course, we realized a month or so ago that that wasn't going to be feasible either. In fact, last Thursday, Utah had its single biggest day for corona infections, over 1,101 days. So it's much worse now than it was in March. So I'm glad we postponed it. And we let people know on all of our websites and Facebook pages, and we sent a mass letter to all the ticket holders, encouraging them to hold on to their tickets because they'll still be good next March, or if they wanted a refund, we can come and run. But there were other sites that lifted the information from our site and then advertised September 19th and 20th, and I had no way of editing those other sites or contact. So I had decided that for anybody who showed up on Saturday and Sunday for the Festival of Colors, we would give them a few packets of colors and I would sing to them. We usually have Katie Wise and Bhakti Explosion, Larissa So, Shakti Tribe, and Jai Krishna Nanda Group. We've had MC Yoga on many occasions. We've had CC White. We've had Jai Uttal. We have Jay Brave. We have Malini and Kanksha. None of them are here because you don't want to spend all that money and airfares and motel rooms and fees for 2 days after Utah has its biggest infection. So I said that I will sing to them. So there were not many actually, but there are 3 or 4 families that I consoled them for having come, and they're not having been a Festival of Color. I said, there's nothing I can do about your having come here. By all means, have a buffet lunch, visit the animals, enjoy the atmosphere, and if you want, I can sing to you. So I sang to about 3 or 4 families last weekend. It's the best we can do under the circumstances. Hopefully, we'll be able to resume our magnificent, epic Festival of Colors next March 27th and 28th. We'll see what the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has in store for us. Whatever it is, we know that it is for our ultimate benefit. If you agree with that statement, let's conclude today's session with some more emojis. Thank you so much. We'll be with you tomorrow. I believe, we have some more comments and more purport on this verse. It's one of the most important verses in the whole of Vedic scriptures. Ete Kanksha Kalo Krishna Stu. So we'll be back with more comments and more of the purport tomorrow. And until then, don't forget to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll just wait until the emojis recede a little bit. Every time you hit an emoji or make a comment, it's pushing us up in the Facebook algorithm. So I'm not about to stop this broadcast right in the middle of your emoji explosion. Thank you. And I will look forward to reading and responding to any comments and questions you have. Hare Krishna.